for I walk in this world. Good morning. I hope that today is a good day for you. I hope it's one that you are filled with the very presence of God. We are talking about some of these things that are listed as what we call the Beatitudes, these introductory remarks in the Sermon on the Mount. I want to start in a slightly different place because I want to point out something that's not really listed here, but it's a primary objective for us. There is one identifying characteristic of Christians, of us, that should be setting us apart from all the other people of the world. And that is that we are, to a greater degree than anybody else, we are to be loving people. We know that. Matthew 13:35, Jesus says this. He says, "By this they will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Love is to be our identifying characteristic. It's not all the other things that sometimes people think are to be identifying them. It's not a particular doctrinal issue or whatever else it might be. It is the way we love people. Certainly that is who we're supposed to be, because after all, God is love. There can be absolutely no doubt that this is who we are designed to be, because God is love. And so we are to be people who are known for loving people. Not just those who agree with us, not just those who share our DNA, and not just those who maybe are of our same nationality or our same ethnicity, or maybe even understanding not just those who are of our same religious beliefs. We're to love people. And we are to be the people that are known for loving people. It's supposed to be very obvious. But, interestingly, and this takes us back to the Sermon on the Mount, there is a characteristic of the Christian life that gives us guidance, even in the way that we are to love. If we are to love without a broader understanding of God's will, we will actually sometimes love people into an eternal separation from God. Yeah, we love all people. We understand that. But we must also understand that we love all people so that all people can be brought to God. He is our ultimate objective. We love people for a purpose. I understand loving people is a good thing just in and of itself. But if we're to really love people, we want to love them closer to God. If we simply love without the objective of us being unified in Christ, then we'll end up lovingly excusing the sin and the lifestyle in some people that leads away from God. So, what is this characteristic that gives us this guidance, even in the way that we are to love people? It is the characteristic that we are to hunger and thirst for righteousness. There in the Sermon on the Mount, very early, we see this idea being set forth by Jesus himself. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Love without concern for the righteousness of God makes us love carelessly. Rather than loving a person closer to God, we actually love them and excuse their separation from Him. Colossians says, Paul wrote Colossians, and he says there that we should do all things in the name of the Lord. This means that everything we do should be focused on the holiness of God and our desire to be like Him. It means that our deepest desire is to pursue the righteousness of God. Everything that we do. So, as we are putting that up front as our desired outcome, we are hungering always to know what that righteousness is. What does it look like? How do we do it? We are pursuing that righteousness. We're hungering for it. Now, think about what that means in an individual person's life, in your life, in my life. We're not first concerned with how we look. We're not first concerned with how things will turn out for us. We're not first concerned even about what we will gain from our actions or our decisions. We are concerned first about what is right in the eyes of God. And we are so concerned with that righteousness that it becomes our obsession. Once we know of God and we know of His plan for us through Christ, we set our course on that objective of the righteousness of God. It becomes what we are all about. Now, a warning here. If we do that arrogantly, thinking that we're better for others, better than other people because we are doing this, then we're missing the point. Or if we do this out of fear, thinking that God's going to just zap us at any moment if we get any little thing wrong, well, we've kind of missed the point there. We've got to understand that we're pursuing the righteousness of this God who is Himself love, this God who Himself has demonstrated for us an enormous amount of grace. But we pursue His righteousness. We want to know what is right and what is wrong, and we want to dedicate ourselves to following that which is right. God's righteousness, really, step back and look at the big picture. God's righteousness is that beautiful city on a hill that shines forth His goodness and His holiness and His love. That righteousness sets God apart from all the other so-called gods of the world because He has a standard of right and wrong, and we are dedicated to following that standard. So we need to be dedicated to that, obsessed with that, hungering for that, thirsting for that. We're not doing this out of guilt or fear, and it's not just a goal for us to reach. It is rather simply what our lives are to be. It is the ideal that our lives are all about. It is not being as good as we can be. It is being as good as we can be in the eyes of God. Amazing idea. Being His people, we look at this and what does it really mean? Being His people, though, actually, it means that we pursue His righteousness with a need as great as our need for food and water. We are hungering for that righteousness. We are thirsting for that righteousness. And I might throw in here, sharing that journey with others, that objective as we pursue His righteousness. As we do this with other people, it allows us to be humble about that very pursuit, inspired by it, to be sure, and yet together, individually and as a group, we pursue that together. It becomes our lifelong objective. We want to be right in the eyes of God, not because we want to be appearing to be self-righteous, certainly, but because God has a standard, and we want to follow that. We are to hunger and thirst for His righteousness. And what's even more amazing about all of this, it is that as little and as insignificant as we are, we have within us the built-in capability, built into us by God Himself, but we have built into us the capability to pursue His righteousness. He has given us this opportunity. No matter what we've done in the past, He opens up this door and He says, now come, pursue what I say is right and wrong. And so we have the opportunity to pursue the righteousness of the Creator of the universe. Amazing. Go have a filled day. Bye.
Resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Words of life, words of hope.